Hey everyone, it's Alison Heikkila. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is the International Day of the Zebra, and for folks with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome like myself, the zebra is our mascot. My friend Michele from Scrapsecrets also has Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, so we decided to do a little collaboration in honor of today. I'm starting off with the wing close-up from A Colorful Life Designs. This is a great stencil, and it really does look like a wing, but it also reads zebra stripes to me. So I decided that I am going to start off by spraying this with some fireworks spray in Tuxedo Black. You got to shake this up really well so that the mica powder starts to move throughout the rest of the liquid, and then you can just spray. We're not actually going to use this piece. What I want is the stencil itself to be covered with the fireworks. We're going to be doing an unusual technique today that I tried for the first time. Michele and I decided to give ourselves a little challenge and use a craft supply in an unconventional way. So I'm going to actually be doing that kind of twice at once. So I'm carefully lifting up the stencil that is saturated with that fireworks spray. You can see it's dripping all over. But you guys, I didn't really make a big mess. I'm now flipping it onto a piece of smooth Bristol cardstock. The first piece was just accent opaque. And what I'm going to do after I wipe up all of that mess is I'm going to grab some protective paper from Artesprix. This is a siliconized paper. It's kind of like a wax paper, but it's used completely differently. It's used for sublimation, things like that, but it's coated with the silicone. So wet doesn't go through it. It doesn't absorb. It kind of just beads up and sits there. Essentially what I want to do is I want to run this through my Sizzix switch machine. So since that fireworks spray is still wet, I don't want to get it all over my plates. It's not a big deal. It's water soluble. I can wash it off, but I just don't want to deal with it. So I figured, let me try this out. First of all, the ink is going to really get pressed into the smooth Bristol cardstock. In addition, it's going to emboss the stencil because I've got that rubbery pad underneath. I'll have all of this stuff listed in my description box below. But you could see right here how all of that excess ink is on the siliconized paper from Artesprix as opposed to being all over my plates. Now, it's a little tricky to see that this is embossed, but it is. You could see it really well here. How cool is that? When you touch it, it has this fantastic tactile quality to it, and I really like that. So it's a little tricky to see, but it does look cool in person. And you can see here how shimmery the fireworks spray is. I love that I have two pieces that I can work with, but I'm going to use the one that's embossed because that was my original plan since we wanted to use something in an unconventional way. So I used the stencil in my die cut machine. In addition to that, I used the die cut machine to kind of press the color into the paper. So I've got my brand new binder for my sentiments. I got this idea from my friend Amy from Amy's Wares, and I'm trying to decide where I want to place my sentiment, which is You're Amazing, from the Big Time Kindness stamp and die set from Honeybee Stamps. And I'm realizing that the black is just not popping for me. I need to do something else. And I've got my little template there that I use as a window so that I could see exactly where I plan on cutting things. So I'm just kind of going around trying to figure out how I'm going to do this and which color I plan on using. I end up going with Purple Delight VersaFine Clair ink, which is a lovely shade of purple. So here's my swatch book, my little swatch tags, excuse me. Why are we doing this International Day of the Zebra collaboration? So again, as I mentioned earlier, the zebra is the mascot for folks with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. And last year we did a nice big hop, and I go through my story a bit. I have a blog post about my story and how this affects me and other folks with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. Essentially, what happened is, I'll link those things below. Essentially, when folks go to medical school, they're told when they hear hoofbeats, don't look for a zebra, look for a horse. And what that kind of means is when you're diagnosing someone, when you hear hoofbeats, you kind of expect a horse. You don't expect a zebra or a donkey or anything like that, right? So they're trained to look for the more obvious diagnosis for things as opposed to the stuff that's rarer and harder to find. This becomes a problem because folks like me that have a rare diagnosis don't often get diagnosed for a very long time. It took 14 years for me to get my Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome diagnosis. What it boils down to is if you've got something going on, talk to your doctors, give them a list of ailments that you're dealing with, do some research on your own and see what you can come up with. But don't necessarily take a hoofbeat at horse value. So what's happening here with the card? I'm using the Simple Sentiments #1 from Simon Says Stamp and CZ Design, and I'm using some VersaMark ink on a piece of purple cardstock that is a really close color to the Purple Delight ink that I used on the other sentiment. I've got some white embossing powder from Imagine Crafts, and I'm going to just sprinkle that on and then heat set it. So we've actually got two types of embossing going on with this card. We've got the dry embossing with the stencil from before, and now we're going to do some heat embossing with the powder. On top here, you could see that I always put a little swatch of color of whatever embossing the powder is in the jars because it always looks so different when you heat set it. So that's just a little trick that I like to do. So now that that's all done, I'm going to trim that down into a nice little strip, and then we can start attaching some things to our card. I am really digging how that background came out. I know its original intention was a close-up of a wing, and I think that it would be really cool if it was watercolored in all different shades of blues and greens, or maybe you prefer warmer colors, more like a monarch, but I really like how it kind of reads zebra also. So now I'm just trying to figure out where exactly I want to put that sentiment strip, and ultimately I think down at the bottom is the right way to go. I've got my Bearly Arts glue, and I'm going to quickly adhere that to the bottom corner, and then I will start with the You're Amazing stamp that I've got there. I'm so happy with this sentiment set, and there's another one that I need to get now because I'm in love with these. I love that scripty font. I like the sub-sentiments that it comes with. I didn't use those today, but there are some really good ones in the set. That looks pretty good. I'm digging that purple. I don't use Purple Delight too often, but I think it looks really nice. I made sure that I let it dry with that large block on top of it just so that it would everything would stick, especially since that panel is raised. So now I have fireworks spray in Sweet Plum, and I don't know if you noticed, but that was a bigger size bottle than the one that I had Tuxedo Black in. Fireworks sprays come in 2 different sizes, and it just so happens that I have a couple in the small ones, and then most of them are in the big ones. So with this Sweet Plum fireworks spray, the label is very close to the Purple Delight color, but the actual color of the fireworks itself is not a perfect match. I wasn't really happy with how this was looking, but I decided to keep on moving, and I knew that I'd come up with a way to fix that. So now I grabbed fireworks spray in Grape Jelly. You can see that that's the smaller bottle of the two. And I've got another brush, and I'm going to just go right on top of that Sweet Plum. It's got some translucency to it. It's not completely opaque, but you could see that now with the Grape Jelly on top of that Sweet Plum, the color is much closer to the Purple Delight ink that I've got. And I don't have to go quite as wide as I did before. I was just using a filbert brush, so it just had a wider girth, I guess. So I don't need to go quite so far this time because the card panel that's embossed is going to cover all of that up. How are we doing now? Look at that. Much better, so much closer to what the actual color is of the stamp that I used earlier. So now I'm going to adhere that down to the card. And then I'm going to grab some sequins and we're going to bling it up just a little bit. And actually, you're going to get a sneak peek because this color is getting released tomorrow from A Colorful Life Designs. It's called Purple Rain. You'll see it in a moment. And not purple rain as in like rain showers, but purple rain as in monarch. And there's a turquoise color in there too. I don't recall what that color is, but you buy the colors individually. I just happen to have them packaged together. So this is Purple Rain. It's an iridescent purple and it's gorgeous and it works so well with the shades of purple that I have on this card. And I'm just kind of going at a diagonal. I'm not really grouping them in sets or anything. I'm just creating a direction for your eye to travel across the card. I like doing my sequence like this sometimes, as opposed to just grouping them into groups of 3 or groups of 5, whatever. I just like to get your eye to move across the card, as opposed to stopping in a specific spot. I think it looks really pretty like this. Look at all of those iridescent colors from that. Just trying to decide if I want to use that last one there, but I decide ultimately not so much. So now I'm going to get my On Point glue, and I am going to use that with my pokey tool and my jewel picker to adhere all of those pieces down. So just as a little reminder, Michele and I would love if you checked out both of our videos, learned a little bit more about International Day of the Zebra and Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome as well. And again, I will have links to Michele's video, of course, as well as the video that I posted last year and the blog post that shares my story. So in case you're interested in learning a little bit more about EDS, you can check those out at your leisure. Just finishing up, getting that sequence down, and we have a finished card, you guys. I think this came out so cool. Loving that stencil, loving the embossed texture. I'm sorry it's a little hard to see, but I think it came out really cool. So that's about it for me today. I hope that you enjoy this. Please don't forget to check out Michele's video. Thank you so much for collaborating with me on this very important International Day of the Zebra. And I will see you all very soon. Be well, stay safe, peace out.